I don't think people understand how big Michael Jackson was. I don't think they understand it because they weren't alive when it was happening. No. Then there was one guy that was the guy.
And he wasn't just... He was huge from the time he was like 5 years old until the day he died.
When you see the silhouette of him with the top hat, and when the lights would go on, bro, people would go insane. And he was dancing and moving.
There are pop stars, and then there are legends. But then there's Michael Jackson, a man who wasn't just a musician, he was a phenomenon. A boy who never really grew up, but somehow became the biggest entertainer the world has ever known. The child prodigy turned king of pop, whose life was a fairy tale of unimaginable success, magic, and spectacle, but also scandal, sorrow, and ultimately tragedy. This is the story of Michael Jackson, the Peter Pan of pop. August 29, 1958. Gary, Indiana. A steel town with little glitz, even less glamour, and one tiny house packed with 9 Jackson children. But in that cramped home lived a child who would change music forever. Michael joined his brothers in the Jackson 5 at just 5 years old, but this wasn't some cute kid situation. He wasn't a gimmick, he was the main event. By the time he was 9, he wasn't just leading the group, he was outshining everyone else on the charts. When a kid belts out a song like Who's Loving You with the soul of a man 4 times his age, you know you're witnessing something special. And yet, despite the adoration, young Michael struggled with something that might surprise you, his voice. Little Michael Jackson didn't like his singing. Let that sink in. The voice that would later define a generation? He wanted it deeper, more mature. But if there was one thing Michael knew how to do, it was work. So he trained, refined, and built that signature sound, the breathy hiccups, the sharp exclamations, the soulful vulnerability. And soon, that voice would take him further than anyone could imagine. Then came 1972, and Michael had his first solo hit been a love song to Rat. Yes, really. And it still hit #1. But Michael wanted more. Being a successful child star wasn't enough. He wanted to be the biggest artist in the world. The Jackson 5 was big, but Michael had bigger plans. In 1979, at just 21 years old, he dropped off the wall, and the world took notice. 4 top 10 singles, 20 million copies sold, and a Grammy Hall of Fame induction. It was a massive success, but not massive enough for Michael. He was furious that he only won 1 Grammy for the album. He swore that his next project would be so big, so undeniable, that the world wouldn't have a choice but to recognize him. And in 1982, he dropped Thriller. The world changed forever. You know the stats: 8 Grammys, 100 million copies sold, the moonwalk, the single white glove, the red leather jacket. Michael Jackson wasn't just a musician anymore. He was an event. Force of nature. This wasn't just an album. It was a cultural shift. Thriller became the best-selling album of all time and made Michael the most famous person on the planet. And that music video? Oh, that wasn't just a video. That was a 14-minute cinematic masterpiece that turned music videos into an art form. MTV barely played black artists before Thriller. After Thriller, Michael Jackson owned MTV. Then came the Pepsi commercial. That now infamous shoot where his hair caught fire. An accident that left him with severe burns and kick-started a long journey of plastic surgeries and painkiller dependency.
Singer Michael Jackson is back home tonight after suffering burns to his head last night during the filming of a Pepsi TV commercial. Jackson was dismissed from the hospital today against the advice of his doctor.
He has both 2nd and 3rd degree burns of the scalp. Fortunately, the 3rd degree component is relatively small.
But still, the king of pop reigned supreme. Michael Jackson didn't just become the king of pop, he made sure the world called him that. In the late 80s, his team planted the title in interviews and contracts, ensuring MTV and radio hosts referred to him that way. Then, in 1989, Elizabeth Taylor made it official at the Soul Train Awards, calling him the true king of pop, rock, and soul.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 1989 Heritage Award and Sammy Davis Jr. Award recipient, and in my estimation, the true king of pop, rock, and soul, Mr. Michael Jackson.
But Michael wanted more than just a nickname. He wanted a coronation. In 1992, during his Dangerous World Tour, Michael arrived in Africa and was treated like literal royalty. In Gabon, 100,000 people flooded the streets to see him. He was carried in a golden throne by tribal leaders, and in Côte d'Ivoire, he was crowned King Sani by a local tribe. From that moment on, Michael's wardrobe changed. His style became more regal. Golden jackets, royal poses, military flair, and gold embellishments, inspired by real monarchs. Michael wasn't just obsessed with the title, he was obsessed with legacy. He feared being forgotten. He knew that music trends change and superstars fade. But kings are forever. By the late 80s, Michael wasn't just famous, he was otherworldly. His androgynous look, his soft-spoken nature, his love for fantasy. He wasn't like any other star. And it wasn't just the fans who saw it. Jane Fonda once turned to him and said, "Michael, you are Peter Pan." And Michael, with tears in his eyes, whispered, "I totally identify with him, the lost boy of Neverland." He built Neverland Ranch, a dreamlike estate with a zoo, a theme park, and an endless playground. But beneath the magic was something darker, a man desperately clinging to childhood, terrified of growing up. Then came the rumors. At first, it was about his looks. The nose, the lighter skin. People speculated, was he bleaching his skin? Trying to erase his blackness? In reality, he had vitiligo, a condition that causes loss of pigmentation. But the world had already made up its mind. The tabloids dubbed him Wacko Jacko. They mocked his surgeries, his pet chimp Bubbles, his reclusive nature.
How do you feel when they call you Wacko
Wacko Jacko? It's not nice. I'm not a wacko.
There are those who would say that you add to the attention.
No, I don't.
Well, the masks, the mysterious behavior.
There's no mysterious behavior. Maybe I like to live that way. Maybe I like to dress that way. I like to dress that way, you know? You should not say he's an animal. Should not say he's Jacko. I'm not a Jacko. I'm Jackson. I have a heart and I have feelings. I feel that when you do that to me. It's not nice. Don't do it.
The magic was turning into something else, something sinister. Michael hated it. Imagine being the biggest artist in history, and instead of focusing on your music, people were obsessed with whether or not you slept in a hyperbaric chamber. And then came the first allegations. In 1993, this was the year that everything changed. Michael was accused of child molestation, and the world turned on him overnight. The man who had once been America's favorite lost boy was now the subject of an FBI investigation. Michael settled the case out of court for $23 million, but the damage was done. His reputation never fully recovered. Then, in the middle of all this chaos, Michael shocked the world.
Mr. and Mrs. Michael Jackson.
In 1994, he married Lisa Marie Presley, the daughter of Elvis Presley. The king of rock and roll married the king of pop's daughter. Sounds like a fairy tale, right? Many thought it was a PR stunt to clean up his image. Their infamous MTV VMA kiss? Awkward. Lisa Marie later said their marriage was real but complicated. They had great chemistry, but almost never had sex. Her words, not mine.
Nobody thought this would last.
Then came his second marriage to Debbie Rowe, a nurse who worked with his dermatologist. She gave birth to his first 2 children, Prince and Paris, but the whole thing felt more like a business arrangement than a romance. They divorced, and Michael got full custody. And then, of course, there was Blanket. The third child was born by an unknown surrogate. The world collectively gasped when Michael dangled his youngest son, Blanket, over a hotel balcony in 2002. Was it a moment of parental recklessness, or just another sign that the King of Pop was losing his grip on reality? In 2005, Jackson was again arrested for inappropriate behavior with a 13-year-old boy. This time, he fought the case in court.
Years ago, I allowed a family to visit and spend some time at Neverland. Neverland is my home. I allowed this family into my home because they told me their son was ill with cancer and needed my help. Through the years, I have helped thousands of children who are ill or in distress. These events have caused a nightmare for my family, my children, and me. I never intend to place myself in so vulnerable a position ever again.
He was found not guilty, but by then, his career was over and Jackson was in financial ruin. His beloved Neverland Ranch, once a symbol of his innocence, became a ghost town. He was drowning in debt. The King of Pop had lost his kingdom.
This is it. I mean, this is really it. This is the final curtain call.
Then, in 2009, Michael Jackson was planning a comeback. This is it, a tour to reclaim his throne. A 50-show residency in London. Every show sold out in 4 hours. He was still loved, and he was ready, but the world would never see it.
Emergency. Yes, sir. I need an ambulance as soon as possible, sir. We have a gentleman here that needs help. He's not breathing. Trying to pump him, but he's not. Okay, we're on our way.
On June 25, 2009, the King of Pop was gone at 50. Cardiac arrest. A lethal dose of propofol. His personal doctor, Conrad Murray, convicted of involuntary manslaughter. Theories ran wild. Was it an accident? A setup? Did Michael fake his death? But one thing was certain, the King of Pop was no more. The king who never died. And then something strange happened. The media that had mocked him for years suddenly mourned him. His albums topped charts again. The same outlets that had called him Wacko Jacko now called him a legend. In death, Michael Jackson finally achieved what he had chased all his life. Eternal youth, eternal admiration, eternal reign. Because true kings are not just named. They are remembered. Michael Jackson was many things. A genius, an enigma, a child trapped in a man's body. He was Peter Pan, the King of Pop, the greatest entertainer to ever live. But perhaps his greatest tragedy was that, for all the love he received, he never seemed to feel truly loved. Maybe that's why he built Neverland. Maybe that's why he danced until his feet bled. Maybe that's why he never stopped reaching for something bigger. Because history has shown us one thing, legends never die. They just moonwalk into eternity. If you enjoyed this dive into the life of Michael Jackson, don't forget to like and subscribe. And let us know in the comments, what's your favorite MJ song? Until next time, keep the music alive.
You start to freeze. You start to freeze. You start to freeze. You start to freeze. As it looks you right between the eyes.
Wow.
Right?